See if we are live. Let me know if you can hear me out there in internet land. Open this doc. Tube Studio. All right, looks like everything's working. Let me know if you can hear me. We got Phil Adams over here. Phil Adams is here. Phil, can you hear me? Can you see me? What's going on? Let's lower this seat here. Phil says audio visual 100% bell. Yeah, the bell. We can't get the bell. B. Travis here. New Jersey. My God. There's still people living in New Jersey? Holy cramoli, man. How much can you people take? Get out of there. It's nice and sunny, and I think it's going to be in the 60s down here in sunny Florida. People are dealing with the snow and the cold. We got, it's a little chilly this morning. Yeah, probably in the 50s. You know, got shorts on in January. A lot of other people are digging out of snow. Oh boy. Well, it might be a light one today because it's January the 4th, 2026. Happy New Year to everybody. First coffee with Frankie in the new year. But not a lot of excitement going on for the Jets. We know this. Last game of the year, we're going up to Buffalo. It's also the last game at Highmark Stadium in Buffalo. They're knocking it down, putting up a new one. And the new one is going to be much better than the old one. So they're going to have an awesome new stadium next year. I'm sure we'll go in there and stink it up as normal. But that's where we are. And not a lot of optimism from the Jet faithful. So we got Staffordshire and we got New Jersey, over here. Venom says, Happy New Year from South Carolina. All right. You got to go down south. I mean, I think the south is so much better than the north, especially the northeast. The northeast is so over. Like, the northeast was where it was at, 200-300 years ago. A lot has happened since then. Whether you're talking about South Carolina, whether you're talking about Florida, whether you're talking about Texas, whether you're talking about Louisiana, this is where it's at. North Carolina. Why you got to deal with snow and rain and pizza rats? I mean, it's disgusting. And meanwhile, here we are, sitting pretty, chilling. Jobs are plentiful. No state income tax. And we got people still staying in New Jersey. Got other people still staying in New York City for some reason. And they're going to find out. They're going to find out. B-Trav says, when my wife retires in about a year and a half, we will give serious consideration to moving south. I don't know, B-Trav. That doesn't sound very definitive. That sounds like one of those things where it's like, yeah, we'll do it later. But I will say, I don't know what your situation is, but the traditional thing for people to do in New Jersey, New York, that type of area, you work your whole life, and you're in a house and you pay off the house, the mortgage, eventually, before you retire, hopefully, and then you retire, and then you sell the house, and now you have a lot of capital, you come down south, the houses are cheaper, or maybe you buy a condo because you don't got the kiddos, which are going to be cheaper, so you take the money from the sale of the New Jersey house, which should give you more money than you need for your, let's say, Florida house or Texas house or whatever it is, and you're sitting pretty. You're retired. You got your retirement income, and then you got some money saved up from the house switcheroo. That's what people do. So it's not a bad plan, but there's a lot of contingency on here. When my wife retires in about a year and a half, so it's not 100% that the wife retires. We also don't have a definitive timeline. We will give serious consideration. Serious consideration is not a conviction. That's like something people say. So I think there's a lot of problems in here, B-Trev. You got to get a little more definitive and concrete and say, okay, on this date, we're moving. We're going to start. Like, if you're going to do this, you got to start looking at houses now. What are you going to do? Look at houses when she retires. Then it's going to be another year and a half you have to stay in that hellhole. Start looking for houses now. Start looking at neighborhoods, doing your research, figuring things out. Can you sell your house? What about a realtor? What about all the things you got to do to sell your house? What about the kiddos? How do all of this? What about the relatives? What about this one's going to be mad? That one's going to be mad. You got to talk to them. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. Unlike old Frankie, I put my resume out there and then people call me up and they want me to come work for them. Well, not everybody has that situation. That's happened to me 3 times now where I moved cross country by myself. That's not typical. Typically, people have a lot of stuff to do before they are able to pull up stakes, as they say. So you might want to get on that, B-Trev. There's a lot to be done. Hi, Karate is here. Good morning to you. Hank G is here. Happy New Year from Niagara, Canada. Wow. I mean, that's definitely not where you want to be. Things are about to get very, very bad for Canada and anywhere near Canada. Might want to think about getting out of there. Venom says, moved down here 4 years ago from Long Island. Well, how do you like it, Venom? Venom's got it figured out. You don't stay in Long Island, a hellhole of all hellhole. Well, there's different parts of Long Island, but Long Island's better than, I would say, the city or certainly upstate. I mean, let's be honest. Jojo is here. Let's go Jets. Pick 2 on the horizon. We'll see where we end up, Jojo. We could end up with 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7. So, we'll see how it works out. Well, yeah, you know what you got to do, B-Trav? Actually, get the wife. She doesn't need to watch Frankie. What she needs to do is she needs to start watching those house hunting shows. You ever see those on TV? Once the wife, or any woman really, starts watching and gets hooked on the house hunting shows, and there's a bunch of them, so see which one she likes, then she starts getting the fever. You know what I'm saying? You got to get her to get the fever. She's not going to get that watching Frankie, I tell you that much. But watch the house hunting shows, then she'll start, getting the fever. And once she starts getting the fever, now you got it. See? You got to be sneaky. You got to be sneaky with this stuff, B-Trav. You got to know how to do the mind control. And certainly this show, not good for that. Jojo says, I'm actually leaving South Florida soon. I've had enough of living here. Well, it's all relative, Jojo. Relative to the Northeast, it's much better. Relative to, you could find somewhere else. You could find, first of all, in Florida, they're about to do away with property tax. That's going to be great. And second of all, what they really have to do is reduce the sales tax next. But if they get rid of the property tax, that'll be fantastic. And then, but yeah, it could be, depending where you are, like certain parts of Florida are very rich. Like if you're in the Tampa area, what's the rich part? Like Palm Beach or West Palm Beach, whatever it is, or Miami. Yeah, those can be very expensive. So you got to check it out. But, there's other places you could go. Like Arizona is pretty nice. It's a place people go too. And Texas. I love Texas. To me, Texas was the best. I would say Austin, Texas. Now, if you go to Texas and then you go to Austin has a higher cost of living than, say, Seymour, Texas, but you get a real city. And it's not, it's 1 million people, but It doesn't feel like a city like Houston feels like a city, if you know what I'm saying. So it just depends. It's all relative, JoJo. All relative. No ball and chain for me. Yeah, yeah. And that's a whole other story, to be honest with you. That's a whole other story, B Trav. And there's obviously pluses and minuses, but that's just the way my life has worked out. And not that you guys want to hear about that. Looking forward to Mendoza versus Moore battle on Friday. Yeah, we get another game. They both played well. Mendoza played better than Moore in this last game, but Moore played okay. So, yeah, now we get to see them another game, and one of them is guaranteed to go to the next game. So we'll get to see another game for the youngsters. So, yeah, that'll be exciting. Thursday and Friday are the games. Hank G, I'll take snow over hurricanes any year. We didn't have any hurricanes this year, Hank G. But yeah, there are hurricanes, and the way to mitigate the hurricanes, of course, is to stay in Central Florida, which is where I am. Even when there are hurricanes, what's going to happen is we might get some rain. You could get some rain. It's true. I mean, there's no perfect place to live in terms of weather if you think about it, except maybe San Diego. I don't know, 72 and sunny every day, but then you're in California and you don't want to be there. But yeah, you could get snow, but hurricanes are bad like if you're on the coasts of Florida. Like if you're going to live on the coasts, East Coast, West Coast, you might really worry about that, and you got to really, mitigate against it, and take all kinds of precautions and have emergency plans and all of this. But then again, in Central Florida, the worst that really happens is torrential downpours, which are not pleasant if you get caught in them. But certainly, I would take those. I would take those over the snow myself, and cold. But it's all personal preference, Hank. She's all over those shows. Oh, well, then you got to check in and see if she's got the fever, B-Trav. Once a woman gets the fever, it's all over, as we all know. Once they get set on something, they're not, you're not going to move them off of it. So you just got to try and get her. Maybe she needs to watch one of the ones, I don't know, one of the ones that can, maybe she's watching the wrong ones. There's a bunch of them. Venom said, Long Island is great, but it's unaffordable with taxes. Yep. Weather is better here, and people are nicer, but they can't make pizza or Italian food for crap down here. Yeah. Yeah, you can't expect to get pizza. I mean, come on. But then again, you shouldn't be eating, well, I should speak for myself. Carbs and old Frankie don't mix. I got a problem with carbs. I got to totally cut them out. It's unbelievable. And it's so difficult, right? Because growing up in an Italian house, the Italian diet is basically carbs. Let's think about it. What? Pizza, pasta, bread is carbs, carbs, carbs. So I got a problem. But that's just me. So I'm cutting out. I don't eat pizza too much anymore. But yeah, an Italian, Italian's going to be hard. I bet you could find a nice Italian place, though. I mean, how hard is it to make some pasta? Throw some tomato sauce on it. Throw in a meatball, But pizza, yeah, pizza is going to be tough because of the water. It actually is the water. And there are places here called the Brooklyn Water. I think it's called the Brooklyn or New York Water Bagel Company. This guy imports water from New York, which comes from Niagara Falls, actually, in order to make the bagels. And now you got real New York bagels. And I wonder if somebody would do that with pizza. It's all in the dough and in the water. This has the deal. But yeah, that's a sacrifice you make. All right, you can't eat as much pizza and pasta anymore. Well, it's probably better for your health anyways. Have a few salads. Yeah. Get a little veggies. Yeah. Tampa Jets fans, I did that and also included little things annoying about the neighborhood. Yeah, and then there's different things. People like different things. Some people like to live in the rich areas and can afford to do so. Other people, they like to live in a little bit less high-profile place. Some people like access to the theme parks. Some people hate access to the theme parks. Some people want access to buses. depending on your situation. Other people don't care about a fucking bus, you know. Other people want to be near the ocean. Other people want to be near the, what have you. Fort Lauderdale. Yeah, from what I understand, I think Fort Lauderdale's pretty spendy. But it's all comes down to your own situation. I mean, Arizona, yeah, Arizona, got to check it out. Some parts of North Carolina are pretty cool. Yeah, just depends. I would look at Texas. To me, Texas was my favorite. Part of it was just because of how different it was than Brooklyn. I went from Brooklyn to Austin, and it was so different, but I really enjoyed it. But it is very hot there. Very hot, and you don't get the winter change like we do in Florida. So in Florida, the winters are really nice, generally speaking. We're already in January. And it's in the 50s, 60s, It's been a little cold this week. But that's what you really live for. And this past summer, we didn't have a bad hurricane season at all. But of course, it gets hot. In Texas, it gets very, very hot, but you don't really get any winter at all, really. Goes down a little bit, a little tiny bit, but not much. Todd says, sorry, I'm late. Well, that's on you, Todd. Alan Dodge is here. Well, the new Pulse contingent has arrived. The Dodester, Alan Dodge, is a member of the channel, and you can become a member of the channel by clicking the join button down below, where you get exclusive items such as the grades for all of the relevant college quarterbacks. You might be wondering, how do these people grade out on the Frankie quarterback grading system? Well, you would know if you were a member of this channel, and you could see how they graded out on number of games. We got 10 games, 9 games, 8 games graded on some of these high-profile people. And you would know how they graded out if only you would click the join button down below. We got different tiers, $2, $5, $10, you name it, we got it. Click down below and you can say hello to Alan Dodge, everybody. What are the chances Buffalo lets us win? Well, they're not going to let us do anything. Number one, remember, it's the last game ever at Highmark Stadium. So they do have some motivation to win from a historical perspective, number one. Number two, even if they, quote unquote, let us win, or even if we lose, even if we beat us, we're probably not getting a top quarterback from the draft anyways. Because there might only be one that we want, which is Mendoza, and we're not getting the first overall pick no matter what. And there's no guarantee Dante Moore comes out. So I think they have a motivation enough with the new stadium just to end. I think they would want to end the old stadium out with a bang. I think Josh Allen's playing, for example, and some people might say not sure that's the right thing to do, but I'm pretty sure he is. He had some sort of minor injury, but he cleared from that. But I think he is playing, from what I know, what I understand. So I don't think they're too concerned about us, to be honest with you. I don't think the Buffalo Bills or New England Patriots or really anybody is concerned about the Jets. They just don't give a fuck. We haven't won in 15 years. We have no quarterback, and we just hired another defensive-minded head coach who won 3 games in his first year. So I don't think they give a shit about us and what we're doing, to be honest with you. Oh, no, they might get Dante Moore. You really think they're worried about us getting Dante Moore, Garate? Oh, no, they're getting Dante Moore. I mean, what did we do with we had Sam Darnold. You saw Sam Darnold last night. You saw what he is. All right? I think that what you saw last night with Sam Darnold, that's what he is. He's pretty good. He makes some throws. He makes some boneheaded plays in the game, but can also make a lot of good plays, and you can win with him. We had that guy. It didn't work out. Then we got Zach Wilson. It didn't work out. Then we got Justin Fields. Didn't work. You think they're really concerned what the hell we're doing? I don't, and nor should they be. This is like the king worried about the janitor. In old England, we got Phil Adams here. Where they got a king and a queen and all these royal people sitting around. What do they do for the people? I don't know, but nonetheless, they got him. So let's say you're the king. Let's say you're King. What's his name? I don't know. What's the name of the king? King. I don't know. King Dickwad. So King Dickwad's sitting around. You think he's worried about some janitor in Staffordshire? I can tell you he's not. And in this analogy, we're the janitors, and the bills are King Dickwad. So it's not. They don't care. No one cares about us. We're not even. We're barely even in the league. We should be relegated to the Canadian Football League. Is what we should be. Hurricane sucks, says Tampa. Yeah. Joe Mike is here. Buon anno, Frankie. Happy New Year. Good year. No Clemens today. The Jets have no chance. LOL. Yeah, Clemens is out. A lot of people out. So there's going to be a lot of people running around. You have no idea who they are. My wife would say the hurricanes are controlled by the government. Well, that's a little nutty. It's hard being Italian and trying to not eat Italian food. It is. And I have an Italian mother, and when I say Italian mother, I mean came over from Italy on the boat. She was on a fucking boat when she was 7 to come over here. That's Italian. Like her family started a restaurant in Albany, New York called Cafe Italia. That's how creative they fucking were. Italian cafe, translation. But that's how Italian they are. That's Italian. So yeah, how am I not going to have an Italian? I mean, it's hard, man, but I got to do it. Otherwise, I don't even want to get into it. In Italy, well, we're talking about Italy. Hank G, so now that the Jets are unfortunately locked out of the number 1 pick, we would prefer the Giants get the first pick, Hank, because they already have Jackson Dart. All indications are that they're pretty much happy with Dart. Now, the Raiders are a complete shit show, and nobody knows what the hell they're going to do. All indications and reports are that they're going to fire Sneaky Pete Carroll. And if that's the case, then they're going to have a whole new coaching staff, and we have no idea what they're going to do. But the consensus is that they're much more likely to draft a quarterback than want to trade. Now, I look at it and I say they should trade out of there. They have Geno for another year or two, and they have no talent on the roster. They need to restock the roster, then go after the rookie quarterback. If you put a rookie quarterback in a bad situation, I mean, unless they're just super phenomenal, it usually doesn't work out too good. And so, to me, I think they need another bridge year, but that's me looking at it. They may look at it totally different. And we also don't know who their coach is going to be. But I'll tell you this. There's an article on Cleveland.com from one of the better beat reporters named Mary Kay Cabot, not Mary Kate. Mary Kay Cabot, Cleveland.com. She covers the Browns. She's one of the good beat reporters. We often, what do you want to say? Insult with intent. The beat reporters, especially for the Jets. But one of the good ones out there is Mary Kay Cabot, and she writes that Kevin Stefanski's job status is up in the air, and he is likely to be fired. Now, if Kevin Stefanski gets fired from the Browns, I think that would be a mistake, but he could go coach. I would think basically he would have his choice. Raiders, Giants would both want him. And then if they hire him, now you have the offensive head coach. Let's say the Raiders hired him. Now you have the offensive head coach. Maybe he says he agrees with old Frankie, or maybe he doesn't. But he might say, yeah, I can make it work with Geno. I mean, Geno Smith has had very good years in this league. He didn't suddenly forget how to play quarterback. So, Stefanski probably might look at it and say, I've had enough of these young quarterbacks. Gabriel, Sanders, all these people other than Deshaun Watson, and then he kept getting hurt. Give me a guy who's steady Eddie. Let's bulk up the roster, and then if we need to go get a quarterback later, we can. He might say, I can make it work with Geno for a year, and maybe longer if needed. So, but in general, we don't know. There's too many variables. We'll start learning information tomorrow. Tomorrow's Black Monday, and it'll be very interesting to see which teams move on and which teams do not. But one thing the Browns should think very carefully about, if they fire and Andrew Berry seems to be safe, even though he's had years of bad drafts. Last year's draft was incredible. But before that, he had a very shoddy track record drafting. But nonetheless, he seems safe, according to the reporting. But the Browns should think very carefully, because if they have a head coach who could snap up a job in about 2.5 seconds, from other teams, what does that tell you about the coach? Look at all the coaches we let go. Some of them found jobs very easily, lower jobs, Saleh, Ulbrich, and others did not. Gase didn't even land in the league. He's been out of the league since we fired him. He, can't even get a job in college, apparently. So, those kind of things tell you. And then if he's going to go and immediately become a head coach again, which I think the Giants and Raiders would be very interested in Kevin Stefanski, 2-time Coach of the Year, offensive mind, so forth and so on. Very hard to find play-calling head coaches, which is what you would prefer if you could have your druthers, because those coaches can't be poached. So all of those things, are going to play a part. I think, the conventional wisdom is that the Raiders are going to take Mendoza if they wind up with the first pick. I think that'd be a mistake. Not that Mendoza isn't good, but because he's just not going to have enough around him to make him successful. And do you really want to go through that grinder of the young quarterback who looks bad in the modern day? There's very little tolerance these days. Look what happened to J.J. McCarthy. Guy had a bad game or 2 or 3, and people were saying, this guy's a bust, get rid of him. Then he bounced back and had some nice games, but, it's a different world. This is not like back in the day when Troy Aikman had two horrible seasons to begin his career. Troy Aikman, Hall of Famer, 3-time Super Bowl winner. Go look at his first 2 years. He was awful. And then his third year started turning around, and then they became better. But there's not a lot of tolerance for that anymore. Not in the environment we live in. So, but in general, we want the Raiders. We want the Giants to be first, because the idea is we could trade with them. Eddie and Sam's in Tampa. Yeah, so I guess a lot of people are trying this now. That makes sense. Alan Dode says, when he was at the yacht club, we imported water. There you go. A lot of people importing water. Soon the people in New York City are not going to have no water. I disagree, Joe. As with most things, Joe Mike, I would disagree. So Joe Mike is getting this from the media that wrote it to stir up people like Joe Mike. Joe, you're letting your mind be discombobulated. How do you think we're going to get a head coach, Joe? How do you think we're going to get a head coach of any kind of quality? Number one. Number two, why do you care how much Aaron Glenn makes? What business is it of yours? Right? So Joe Mike, this is an example right here. This is a great example. So Joe Mike is getting upset about something that the media puts out there to get Joe Mike upset. And hopefully a lot of you are not falling for this trick. I don't care how much money Aaron Glenn makes. It's not my money, not your money. It's Woody's money. Can make $100 million for all I care. Good for Aaron Glenn. And what you have to hope is that financial commitment that Woody makes leads to stability and improvement from Mr. Glenn. What we're looking for is improvement and development of the head coach. Why? Because we cannot attract a top head coach. Are you paying attention, Joe? We cannot attract the top people. They don't want to work for Woody. They don't want to work in New Jersey. We've been talking about New Jersey. Who wants to work there? The weather's terrible. Taxes are too high. You can't even pump your own gas, and you shake hands with women, and they give you mononucleosis. Look at Sam Darnold. I mean, it's a disgusting fucking place, and you think we can, and on top of all that, we have a track record of losing. We haven't been to the playoffs in 15, 16 years. We haven't been to the Super Bowl in 50 fucking years. Who's going to want to come here? So Aaron Glenn was a highly sought-after candidate in the cycle. All 7 teams who had an opening asked him for an interview. He interviewed with, I forget how many he interviewed with. He told the Patriots, no, I'm not even going to interview with you. But he was a highly sought-after candidate, and we got him. How do you think we're going to get him? Saints could have hired him. A lot of teams were interested. We paid him 10. Is it a lot? Yeah. Do I care? No. Let's hope he can improve and develop and become a good head coach at whatever the cost. Because if Aaron Glenn develops into, he's not now, obviously, but if he develops into a good head coach, is that money well spent? Yeah. Yes. Yep. And most of all, who cares how much Woody spends? If anything, it should tell you Woody's willing to spend on coaches. It should be looked at as a good thing. Because he knows he's going to have to lay out the bucks to get them to come to this shit show. We are a shit show. Wake up. You have to do certain, like, it's going to be like this free agency period. There's going to be free agents we sign, Joe, that shouldn't be signing the level of contracts that they sign. We're going to pay way too much for them. Whether it's Linderbaum or Alex Anzalone or Malcolm Rodriguez or some defensive tackle or an edge player or safety, these are all positions we have to sign people at. Starting level. And we're going to overpay. We have to overpay. It's called the Jets tax. So, to me, it's a good sign that Woody's willing to spend on coaching. We couldn't get the best. We couldn't even interview Ben Johnson and Liam Cohen. Ben Johnson, Liam Cohen, some of the best hires in the cycle. They told us no. Vrabel, we tried to get. The 3 best hires in the last cycle, 2 of them told us no. No, I don't want to interview with you. The agent, that comes out of the agent's mouth. I'm not speculating. The agent said that publicly. He told the Jets no. I think they have the same agent. If not, both of their agents said the same thing. Yeah, they were not interested in the Jets situation at this time. And Vrabel, the third one, we interviewed and would have taken the job if Gerard Mayo didn't get fired. And by the way, Vrabel would have made more because he deserves it. So what did you want Woody to do? We hired the best candidate we possibly could. We had to convince him with megabucks deal to even do it and give him all the power and everything that he has because we're the Jets. To me, it made perfect sense. What are you even talking about? Some people really are. I mean, I understand we haven't won. We're not winning. We won 3 games this year. So people have a hard time in football seeing anything positive about anything when you don't have the wins. Whereas if we were 13-3 or if we won 9 games, and by the way, then people would look at things differently. By the way, if you look at something, first of all, we lost 2 games. We won 3 games. All right. That's not good. We lost 2 games in the last second field goal. And if you look at strength of schedule, which is kind of annoying, because if you look at Tankathon, for example, when I look at the strength of schedule, one of the reasons we can't get up higher is because we've had a very hard strength of schedule. And the idea is the lower your strength of schedule, you should have won more games and you didn't, so you're really bad, right? So the lower your strength of schedule helps you in the tankathon. But our strength of schedule in the league is 549. You say, okay, what does that mean? Well, there's only two teams, Tennessee and Arizona, who are in the top 5 with us, who have a harder strength of schedule. So we wound up having the third hardest strength of schedule of any team in the NFL. Not just the top teams, going all the way down to the teams that make the playoffs and so forth. So we lost 2 games by last second field goal. We had the third hardest schedule in the league, according to this, and we had no quarterback and a first-time head coach that we're trying to develop. What did you expect, Joe? It's weird because we sat here, Joe, on Coffee with Frankie on Sunday in the summertime, and I told you that the roster was not good enough. Was there any? I was telling you, Joe. And you remember we had a lot of conversations about Michael Clemens. Why is Michael Clemens still here? And I told you, because we don't have anybody better, Joe. We didn't sign anyone. We didn't draft anyone any better than Michael Clemens. As an example of the type of player who's going to play a lot of snaps for us and was not good enough. And that's the way it was all over the place. And then on top of that, we traded Sauce and Quinnen. How do you think the defense is going to play when it's not good in the first place, and then you trade your 2 best players? It's not going to play good. So all that to say, yeah, we're paying a lot of money to a head coach. That's a good thing. It means Woody's willing to spend on coaching, okay? And now you would prefer that he spend it on somebody who's a good head coach, but we can't get those people, so we're hoping to develop our own. And that's the best you can hope for. We're the Jets. We're not the Patriots. We're not the Bills. We're not the Chiefs. We're not these people who are in the gated community of the NFL. I don't know how many times I can explain it, Joe. I don't know. I just don't know. But that's the situation we're in case some of you were confused. There it is, Dode's echoing what I say. No sleep till Brooklyn. Yeah. No, Phil, he's not getting fired. Murph. You're welcome, Murph. Murph is also a member of the Inner Circle. So I would recommend folks take a look at the Inner Circle, the Inner Square, the Inner Triangle. We got 3 different levels of membership. You get insider info, grading systems, data analytics, you name it. You get it all if you're a member. Click the join button down below. Jojo, I will definitely be watching the Giants game and the Chiefs game. Yeah, we really need the Raiders to win, Giants to win, Jets to lose. Hank G, Buffalo would want to win the game to move up in the playoff order, so they have at least a chance for, I'd think. I don't know. I don't know if they're locked in or not. I forget if they have something to play for. So I wanted to check here. Insider just coach. So the reporting on Glenn is he'll be back. Now everybody's reporting the same things, whether it's Dick Cimini or the insiders. They're all saying Glenn will be back, so he's going to be back. Even Dirty Diana Rossini reported it yesterday. But they are reporting that Raiders coach Pete Carroll's likely one and done. Falcons, Arthur Blank, plenty to consider. I think they might stick with Radio Raheem. Jonathan Gannon has not made it easy on himself, is what they're reporting. I don't know what that means. So let's hope, I don't know. Well, we got to see all this stuff, how it plays out. It all has an impact on who's available, who's not available, trades, and so forth. But I'm not sure if Buffalo has playoff seeding to worry about or not. They might. If they do, then they're definitely going to kick our ass. Dude, Josh Allen's going to play like it's a preseason game. James Cook trying for the rushing title. So there, yeah. So Cook rushing title. Allen. I don't know what Josh Allen's going to do. To be honest with you, you never know with that guy. And plus, they might have playoff implications. Sunshine Salami. Yeah, blabbermouths and yammerers. Sam is solid, a good dude. Rooting, yeah, I like Sam Darnold. I don't have any problem rooting for Sam Darnold, the Seahawks. What about Jason Myers last night? Former Jet legend, Jason Myers. Missed 2 kicks. I was like, what the hell? I mean, it's funny because they only gave up what was the final score? 13-6 or something. 16. I forget what it was. But the first 13-3. The Tampa game was crazy, and I thought going into that game that if Tampa won, they're in and Carolina's out, but that's not the case. It depends on the Falcons Saints game. And then the next game, so Seattle scored 13 points, but they kicked Salah's ass. That offense absolutely kicked the San Francisco defense's ass up and down the field, but they only scored 13 points. So the Salah defenders will be like, see, Robert Salah's great. He only gave up 13 points to a good Seahawk offense. It's like, did you watch the game? They were killing them. But they're injured. They have all the injuries. Phil Adams says, I don't give a stuff about the king either. Well, then you got to overthrow him. Why is he still there? Get rid of the bum. Forget these kings. Seattle has a great infrastructure in their organization. Yeah, well, it's John Schneider. He's been there for a long time. They do a great job drafting. But the one problem I would say for Seattle is they hired a great head coach, Mike McDonald, for sure, but he's a defense guy. So Clint Kubiak is almost certainly going to leave, if not this year, the next year. And then what do you do? And that's the problem with hiring a defensive coach, is that your OC, if they're really good, they're going to get poached. So I would think that Clint Kubiak is a guy there's so few offensive guys available this time that Kubiak could be one of the ones to leave. And then how's Sammy going to do with whoever they get to replace him? Raiders will get a haul from somebody if they don't want him. Yeah, so it might as well be us. That would be my thing, Phil, because they need a haul. That's the whole thing. They need a haul to upgrade the roster. They have 5 players on the whole team. Max Crosby, Brock Bowers, Ashton Genty, Colton Miller. Can you name anybody else on the Raiders? Who else is on the Raiders? And then Geno Smith, of course. But, they have nothing. I can't even name anybody. Adam Butler? They got nothing. How did they let Robert Spillane go, by the way? One of the few good defenders you have on your team. And then they trade Jacoby Myers. So Jacoby Myers wanted to be traded. They said no. They held on to him. Then they traded him. And then now look what he's doing on Jacksonville. Totally transformed their offense. Why didn't you keep that guy? Sign him to a long-term deal. That was pretty stupid. Why did Spytek do that? Jacoby Myers is a perfectly fine wide receiver who helps your team. Why are you trading him? And then Jacksonville gets him. He does great, helps Trevor Lawrence a lot, and they sign him. They say, yeah, you're staying here, buddy. What? So that was not a good trade by Spytek. You might say, well, he needs to rebuild in the draft and get draft picks. Maybe so, but one of the things you're looking for is a reliable wide receiver like Jacoby Myers. So I don't know what that franchise is doing. I don't think anybody knows either. They got shady Tom Brady. They got Alex Guerrero, by the way. For those who don't know, Alex Guerrero, man who had 2 businesses shut down, not fined, not a stern warning letter. They shut down the businesses, supplement businesses. supplement businesses. What was he really selling? I don't know. You don't know, but the FTC knows. And they said, shut these fucking businesses down. So Alex Guerrero, Tom Brady's longtime personal trainer, who was giving him God knows what to help him play. I mean, Tom Brady threw for over 5,000 yards at age 44 or some shit. What was he taking? I'm sure it was all vitamin D supplements. But the point is, Alex Guerrero is now the wellness coordinator for your Las Vegas Raiders. So whatever he was giving Tom Brady, obviously he didn't give to these players this year because they stunk. Maybe you should give some to Geno Smith. But so they got Tom Brady in the ownership. They got Alex Guerrero in there. And don't forget, Alex Guerrero was also kicked the fuck out of New England Patriots locker room and team facilities. They said, get out of here. This was Tom Brady's guy, and the Patriots kicked him out. So what was he doing there to get kicked out of the facilities? I don't know. Maybe he was smiling too much. I don't know. You don't know, because nobody will fucking report on Tom Brady because they're all scared of him. But the point is that that's over there. And you got Spy Tech picking a running back in the first round when they need offensive line. You got trading away wide receivers who are really good for draft picks so that you can get a young wide receiver, I guess. You got one guy, you're telling Max Crosby, the most competitive man on earth, no, get out of here. Your knee injury, needs surgery. Get out of here. And he's like, no, I want to play. They're saying, get out of the building. What is going on? You hired Chip Kelly, gave him $6 million to be the worst offensive coordinator in football. What is going on? And then Chip Kelly turns around and says, I'm going to go be the OC for Northwestern. What? Excuse me. I thought you knew what you were doing. We gave you $6 million. And after we fire you, go to Northwestern? Not Ohio State, not Michigan, not LSU, not, Alabama, Georgia. You go to Northwestern? What? Excuse me? So what the hell is going on in Las Vegas? Nobody knows. You can't tell me anybody knows. Talk about dysfunction. And this is something that's really interesting. No, people don't really talk about Mark Davis and dysfunction the way they do Woody Johnson and dysfunction. I would say Mark Davis has been way more dysfunctional than Woody Johnson. Has Woody Johnson been good? No. But Mark Davis, maybe Mark Davis maybe people just like him personally, has a better personality than Woody. But, look at everything that guy has done. From the John Gruden mess, then he had Rich Bisaccia. Should have probably stuck with him. They get rid of him. Then they bring in Antonio Pierce. That was a disaster. Not enough experience for Mr. Pierce. Antonio Pierce really needs to be a defensive coordinator he needs to get more years of coaching under his belt. You know what I mean? And then that turned into a disaster. Now you have this. Pete Carroll looks like he's one and done. But what did Mark Davis do? The one bright thing he did, he sold a minority stake to Tom Brady, and Tom Brady has a sterling reputation, even though he really should not. But because he won 7 rings, this is football, and not the people in this chat, but 75% of the football fanatics, they're not that bright. Let's be honest. They're probably below average. The people in this chat, they're above average. You guys, you're above average. But so they just look at it and say, well, Tom Brady, 7 rings. He's a sterling. What a great upgrade to your program. Get him in there. And what does that do? It takes the stink off of Mark Davis. Because now, whenever anybody talks about the Raiders, they talk about Tom Brady as much as they talk about Mark Davis. Tom Brady wants this. We don't know what Tom Brady wants. But it kind of takes the stink off of a Nepo. Mark Davis is a Nepo baby. He just inherited the team from Daddy, Al Davis, the real Maverick. So's Woody, of course. But he didn't inherit the team, but he inherited a fortune that he then went and invested in the stock market, which was a smart move. Hedge fund company, the Johnson Company. At least he didn't waste it all on hookers and blow. So, but nonetheless, that's a smart thing he did, because now anytime they talk about the Raiders, they talk about Tom Brady, which is much better for public perception than talking about Mark Davis. But Woody could do the same thing. Not with Tom Brady, but he could do it with Curtis fucking Martin. Curtis Martin is the head of a PE firm. They could sell 1%, 2%. He could sell 3% of the team, get the cash. That's a lot of cashola. I mean, not for Woody, but for you and me, that's a lot. And then you have Curtis Martin be the face of the franchise more. Everybody loves Curtis Martin. All reports are Curtis Martin is beloved. He's great with people, very smart. And wouldn't you want Curtis Martin to be the face of the franchise rather than stupid old Woody? I mean, the public perception would be much different, but he refuses to do this. And many, many of the team's owners are now selling private equity percentages, 3%, 5%, 10%. I think the Patriots sold 10%. And what that does, it gives to the principal, it gives them cash. Why is cash important? Cash is important because of signing bonuses. Signing bonuses are important to keep your cap hits low. Cap hits are important so you can get more players on your roster, you see? Good players, not the bums we signed in the summertime. So, all of this should be a lesson to Woody, but he doesn't seem to be interested. I mean, it's the most logical thing ever. Put Curtis Martin out front. Curtis Martin's the perfect front man for the Jets. Perfect. And I said this months and months ago. Nobody listened. Nobody cared. Have whole videos about it. But that's what they should do. Because public perception is very, very important. What gets written about your team, the videos that get done with the mainstream media, it's very important because all of that has an effect on the public. I mean, look at poor Joe Mike. He's influenced very strongly by the mainstream media. They say something and whoo, goes right into the brain. And now he's all worried about $10 million Aaron Glenn because the mainstream media made him worry about it, because that's what they do. That's their job, to make the Jet fan worry, because then it's click, 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 clickety click. So, and there's many, and Joe Mike's not the only one, of course. There's many, many, many Jet fans just the same, exactly the same. So, man, we could very easily start to change this whole thing around if Woody would just be smart enough to sell 5% of the team to Curtis Martin. It's 5%. He can keep 95% and basically change the perception of this motherfucker, which is very important when your team is in the toilet and nobody gives a shit and is saying they should be relegated and you can't hire people and nobody wants to work for you. I mean, it's crazy. He could change so much. And not only that, you could change the quality of the team by having more cash available. I mean, I don't think people really understand how much of a game changer it is to have the Walmart people owning the Denver Broncos. The Walmart people. Walmart is the greatest cash cow in the history of the world, pretty much. I mean, maybe there's some Chinese company, I don't know. But Walmart we're talking about cash, straight cash, homie, which means they can spend it. They don't have, it's not tied up in buildings and property and land and what, it's cashola. They can spend that cashola on player signing bonuses, big ass signing bonuses to give players lots of money, which they need to do, and then not take a huge cap hit. Cash over cap, it's called. And so anybody who thinks, the Miami Dolphins, for example, can just follow the Denver Broncos model, you're going to be mistaken when it comes to Tua Tagovailoa and Russell Wilson. Denver Broncos had a lot of unique circumstances to get them to where they are right now, including acquiring Sean Payton and an ownership change that includes the biggest cash cow business in the history of the world, probably, which helps you. So, I don't know, man. But all that to say, we don't know. We don't know what the hell the Raiders are going to do. They're the biggest wild card team in the world. See? And then Dode says Brady wants Mendoza. Nobody knows what Brady wants. Raiders will draft Mendoza. How influential is Brady in Las Vegas? Yeah, we don't know. These are things we don't know. Kyler Murray stinks, so he's not coming here. Instant gratification mentality. Yep. They always sabotage the Jets with strength of schedule. Well, I don't know if they sabotaged anything, but the point is, Glenn faced a very stacked deck. You want to get mad. We lost 2 games by a field goal at the end. We had no quarterback, and we faced the third hardest strength of schedule, and you're mad that we only won 3 games. A lot of people are mad. And I'm not saying Glenn is great at head coaching right now. He's not. But I do think he can develop into that. I think he can. And you got to hope that he does, because very few people are going to want to come here if he gets fired next year. This year, next year, even the next year after that. Right. This is a good point by NYC Sport. 1, 2, 3, 3. You do have to get a little consistency, especially on offense. That's one of the values of having the quarterback in place, is that quarterback has continuity, and hopefully you keep the coaches pretty much in place, year over year, at least until the quarterback is stable. We've not only been changing out the head coaching regime and everybody too often, we haven't found the quarterback either, and kind of goes hand in hand, but then you get no continuity. And it takes time. It takes time to rebuild a roster. It takes time for coaches to get comfortable and make little tweaks and things. So, yeah, I agree. Yeah, Flores B-Flow is going to be a hot candidate this time again. I don't see the Raiders winning because they benched Geno. Yeah, well, they got Kenny Pickett. I mean, so Kenny Pickett, while he's not good, he certainly will be trying. He's trying to salvage a career over there. But they just don't have any players. Who's he going to throw to? How are they going to do anything? They have no offensive line. The defense is terrible. Every time I watch them, it's like the most disappointing. It's like there's just no players on the roster. They somehow just completely screwed up the roster. And one of the ways they screwed it up, when you take a running back with the 5th overall or whatever it was, 6th, you can do that if your team is loaded and somehow you wound up with, I don't know how your team is loaded, you wound up that high. Let's say you had somebody else's pick or something. But if the running back is the last thing you need, and it's like, okay, we got the line, we got the QB, we got everything else. All right, let's get this great running back. Okay, perfect. But not when your roster is as depleted as theirs is. They probably were hoping for Mason Graham. That would have been a great pick for them, but the Browns are smart and took him at 5. Alan Dodes, I just meant Josh Allen's playing to extend his Iron Man streak. Well, we don't know. We got to know if they're playing for anything. Certainly he's going to start. Certainly, I mean, it is the last game there at Highmark Stadium. Don't you think he wants to play and make sure they win? Well, we don't know if Dante Moore's coming out, so that's the problem there. If I was Dante Moore, I would come out. Dante Moore, I mean, he's not going to be as good as Drake May, but he could turn into an elite quarterback. Drake May is essentially C.J. Stroud with better accuracy and running speed. So if you like C.J. Stroud, you should love Drake May. Now, is Drake May going to be able to play to the same level? That's just sort of like play style. As we all know, the quarterback position is mostly a brain position, and we don't know how these young fellas' brains are going to work when they get up to the big league, even if it works great at the college level. Moore is a very smart kid, but being smart in life and being football smart are two different things. And then being quarterback football smart are three different things. And then, of course, translating the smartness into the physical side. But if you're looking for a pro comp, it's C.J. Stroud, but he's a faster runner and has better accuracy on his passing. Mic problems. I think it's just you, dudes. Yep. I think you hit the mute. I didn't hit the mute. Weird. Okay, I can hear you now. Cut out for me. Woody needs to try something different. Yeah, I agree, JoJo. I don't know what he's thinking. It's a win-win for him personally, the Jets, the investment. I mean, I think that makes the investment go up. If he's looking at it from an investor, I mean, from every angle, it makes so much sense. You can acquire better players. You have more cash. You now have a face of the franchise that's much harder to criticize. Who's going to criticize Curtis Martin? I mean, they love making Woody a punching bag, partly because he's very easy to make into a punching bag. He makes it very easy every time he opens his fucking mouth. He says something cringeworthy. So put Curtis Martin in the mix, and it's better. You're improving the image of the team, which is better for the business. So you're going to be able to acquire better players, et cetera, et cetera. It makes so much sense, and he just refuses to do it. It's the golly. It's so obvious. It's sitting there. It's like a bag of money sitting on the table. It's like a bag of free money. He just refuses to take the free money. It's like it's right there. Is this going to hurt anybody if I take this? Nope. Is anybody going to know I took it? Nope. It's just a bag of free money sitting there, and I take it, and there's no other repercussions. 100%. 100%, no repercussions. And then he walks out the door and doesn't take it. It's a bag of free money. Fucking pisses me off, too, because if I can see this, how come all these business people, where's Jaime El High on this? Where the fuck is Jaime? If I can see this, Frankie from Flatbush, where are the business people within the Jets going, yeah, Woody, that would be a smart move? Why isn't Jaime giving him that advice? Supposed to be the business guy, Jaime. What the fuck are you doing? It's a bag of free money. For God's sake, man. Just take it. Never understand people who could just take a bag of free money and then they don't. Just go ahead and take it. Take it. It's free money just sitting there. Not going to hurt anybody. Nothing else. Money can't go to anyone else. There's nothing else we could do with it. Only you. Oh, okay. I guess I'll just take this. Hope Woody's watching. Woody's not watching. He's not watching, Frankie. Only maybe if we get up to 1 million subscribers, somebody will watch, but he's not watching. Iowa Jets is here. The Ginger Mouse. The Ginger. Oh, you're talking about the Ass Man? Yeah, I mean, well, a lot of these people who do content, Mark, they learn from Joe Badingdong. If you noticed. And what they learned from Joe Badingdong is if you rant and rave and scream to the high heavens, that you get ratings, you get clicks, you get subscribers. It pays off. I mean, look at Joe Bading This man got a whole career and power and fame by ranting and raving about the Jets losing. You think Joe Bading really wants the Jets to win ever? And all of his power and fame and success just goes out the window. Bye bye. All the money. Bye. No, he doesn't want the Jets to win. He made his whole name and power and fame on ranting and raving about the Jets losing and how bad they are and how they should fire everyone. So a lot of the content creators then are little Joe Bading-dongs. And Jake Assman is one of those. When can the Jets interview available coaches to fill their needs? This is a good question by Dave. Well, SpinMax and SpinMax Dave, also a member of the Inner Circle. You might want to join the Inner Circle by clicking the join button and get exclusive items, such as the college quarterback rankings, Frankie rankings, and grades. But it depends. So if there's certain dates, and they'll be soon, starting next week. But if the coaches are on a staff, let's say they're we're not going to be able to interview other DCs. Probably we can request, but they can be denied. But if the team is out of the playoffs, and let's say we want to interview somebody's defensive back coach to be a DC, we could interview them starting next week. And I think somebody like a Wink Martindale, for example, who basically is unemployed at this point because he's out at Michigan now, I think we could interview him, for example, starting Tuesday or Monday if we wanted, but probably Tuesday, Wednesday. So next week we're going to start. This whole process is starting next week, and it's going to be very fascinating. But Wink Martindale can be one of the first ones. Anybody in college, and remember, the first round interviews, I think, are all on Zoom, so it's very easy. College guys you can interview now, but we probably are not going to, I don't know. We'll interview some college dudes, but like Brian Flores, he's not in the playoffs and his contract is up. So Flores is not under contract as soon as the season ends. I think contracts are different. But with Flores, it would depend on when the actual date of his contract termination. Now, the Vikings could very well sign him to could re-sign him, but he'd be silly to do that without at least taking interviews, and he may limit it to head coaching opportunities. And certainly he would want to take head coaching interviews first, I would think, to see if that works out. So, like, if you wanted Brian Flores, you're going to be waiting. That's why it makes a lot more sense to try for a Wink Martindale, probably, if that's the way you want to go, because you don't have to wait at all with Wink. You could hire him pretty much immediately. And now we're having two. We now have had two. So if you notice with Wink Martindale, I was the first one to mention it. I'm not to brag, but I did. I was the first one. FSPN, Frankie from Flatbush, another reason you should become a member, become a subscriber, hit the subscribe button, hit the give money button. Because I mentioned it first. And then now, more importantly, we have Connor Hughes and this morning, Dick Chimney. So we now have two beat reporters who have brought up the name Wink Martindale. So that tells you a couple of things could be happening. Wink's agent could be trying to get, his name out there, or he really could be a candidate that we're interested in, and that's what the beat reporters are hearing. So we'll have to see about that, but it's going to vary. So Wink could be fast, B-Flow could be slow, and then there's everybody in between. If the team's still playing, there's different. If a team's still playing in the playoffs, you can interview them, but it depends on where they are in the playoffs, et cetera, et cetera. So it'll take a little while. Josh Allen can play 2 drives and be up 14-0 and secure the win. Yeah, maybe that's what they do. Well, we don't know what. I mean, That's probably true, but at the same time, what the hell is Jaime telling him? I mean, we know Jaime was highly involved in the Aaron Rodgers situation, but other than that, there's very few really reasons for Jaime to get involved with the football operations. Now, Aaron Rodgers' situation was one because going with Derek Carr versus Aaron Rodgers was the right decision from a business perspective. From a purely football perspective and contract perspective and team building perspective, I think Derek Carr would have been the way to go because you wouldn't have had to make a trade. You would have kept all your draft picks and would have had a more palatable contract, and you would have had a younger, less likely to be injured quarterback. Now, they both did get injured, but still. But I think in that case, the business side got involved because Aaron Rodgers is a much more marketable name. And from a business perspective, it worked. Think about how excited the Jets fans were during that whole time. Business was booming. So in that scenario, Jaime could look and say, see, told you, Woody, this is awesome. But other than that, I mean, Jaime's not getting involved in, whether we should re-sign Breece Hall or not. I mean, you know what I mean? So, but certainly this idea of Curtis Martin buying some equity into the team, certainly the that should be that is something that Jaime should have something to say about. And you wonder what he is saying. Now, maybe he's telling him, maybe he did tell him, yeah, good idea, go for it, Woody. And Woody's like, nah. I don't know why Woody wouldn't go for that. It makes sense on so many levels. It's like crazy. Yeah, give a little like, give a little subscribe. Thank you, Todd. Just need a football VP of player operations. Jaime's like a yes man. We don't know what Jaime's like. The Fire AG campaign failed. Well, the one and done campaign failed. Now it's going to be 2 and through. So everybody tried for 1 and done because that's good for their business to have chaos with the Jets. All the people, by the way, all the people who were screaming for 1 and done, right? They don't like the Jets, right? All these people who claim to be Jet fans but were screaming for 1 and done with Glenn, they're not true Jet fans. And you shouldn't give them your business, in my opinion. Because it made no sense from any perspective, even though Glenn did not perform well this year. Granted, and we didn't win enough games, granted. But even with that, it made absolutely no sense for Woody Johnson to fire Aaron Glenn after 1 year if you're a real Jet fan. Because if you're a real Jet fan, you want to see the Jets win. And if you want to see the Jets win and win long term, sustainably, then you have to be praying to the football gods that Aaron Glenn can develop into a high-quality head coach and that they get the quarterback right and all this. And being 1 and done was not going to serve the Jets long-term because what would that tell any candidates who could come in next? Do you really want to work for this organization, this much dysfunction, and don't even have a Tom Brady like the Raiders do? Because you could say the same thing about the Raiders. Look how they've turned over coaches. Hasn't been great for them either, but Mark Davis was at least smart enough to bring in 7 rings Tom Brady to take the stink off of that and say, all right, that hasn't been good, but look, they just brought in Tom Brady, so maybe they'll, but we don't have that. So, I think all these people who had their pitchforks out for 1 and done, you shouldn't give them your business, which in most cases is just your attention. That's the way I see it. That's the way I see it. Now, we do have a chimney column I want to get to. It's already 11:15. We do have a chimney column. I just want to get to 2 things in the column that are worthwhile. One, we already mentioned, Wink Martindale. He also mentions Jim Schwartz. Depends on what happens with the Cleveland staff. Jim Schwartz would be a home run hire. Jim Leonard with the Denver Broncos, former Jet, He's a guy who has never been a DC in the NFL before, so you'd be taking a roll of the dice. And Al Harris of the Bears. And then you have Chris Harris on our staff. So, but the point here is that this is now the second beat reporter mentioning Wink Martindale after I was the first to do so. And then now you have Connor Hughes and Chimney. Now he says Brees Hall and Ali Vera Tucker are the priorities for us, and that we want Folk back. So, this is now, we've heard this kind of reporting in a couple of places. Brees Hall, Elijah Vera Tucker are the Jets' priorities. So it seems like they really want AVT back. And if AVT could just stay healthy, and if you replaced John Simpson with AVT, and then somehow, some way got Linderbaum, that would be an elite offensive line. Elite. Assuming AVT can stay healthy. God, I love AVT so much. If he could just stay healthy. So those are the 2 points from Chimney's column that I wanted to mention on this show before we got out of alignment. It's already 11:16 a.m. Jeez. So Dave says, yeah, I'm sort of going on the assumption that we're not getting Mendoza or Moore. So then the first 2 rounds. So in this scenario, we're signing, by the way, Malik Willis, in case you don't know what's going on. In my opinion, if it's not certain that we could get Mendoza or Moore, let's say, like if we don't have one of the first 2 picks, if it's not certain we can get Mendoza or Moore, if we wind up 3 through anywhere else, in my opinion, we're signing Malik Willis and maybe somebody else like a Marcus Mariota, and we're not taking a quarterback. So that means we're getting 4 really good players in the first 2 rounds. If you think about it, we could get people like, let's imagine these first 2 rounds. Maybe, I don't know how much you guys follow college football and know how good these players are. But let's say we wound up with Reuben Bain, Denzel Boston. Reuben Bain's a defensive and edge player, and actually has defensive tackle and defensive end versatility. Think of JFM, but much better. Reuben Bain, Denzel Boston, the wide receiver out of Washington, tall, fast, good route runner. Then you get Amari Washington from the Oregon Ducks, defensive tackle. Then you get Lacey, the LSU safety. Then you get a safety from one of the top programs, whether that's the kid from Toledo or, you get one of these top safeties. That could be your first 4 picks. I mean, if you combine that with a nice free agency class, which we should have this year because we have the cap space for it, that's not bad. And then it just comes down to how good is Malik Willis, and we don't really know because he doesn't have enough of a sample size. But he's played really well for Green Bay when he has gotten a chance. It'd be a roll of the dice, but there's just not that many quarterbacks available, and I don't see us reaching for one. And so for me, if we can't get Mendoza or Moore, then it's Malik Willis time, and just stack up the team. And then next year we have 3. If that doesn't work out, next year we have 3 first-round picks. But there's also a chance where Malik Willis works out, and that's it, and you sign him. And then the 3 first-round picks, we load up the team, and let's go. But then again, we just don't know. We don't know how Malik Willis is going to play. But I think that's it. B-Trav, I love Schwartz. Yeah, I don't know. They'd be pretty crazy. I think Cleveland should just ride it out. Stack up. They need all they really need is to rebuild the O-line and get a wide receiver or 2 or 3. And they're going to have a good team. And then you got to figure, and then you basically have 2 bites at the apple next year. Either Shador becomes your guy. If not, Deshaun Watson's going to be on the roster. This is a guy who led the league in passing one year when he was in Houston. So maybe he could recapture his magic, but then if not, go for it in 27 when you also have more picks. So, and there's many more quarterbacks going to come out in 27. The 27 class could have as many as 6 first-round quarterbacks, if not more. Not that many teams will need quarterbacks, but so that's what's going on. Yeah, I think we should. I think we should write an email to YouTube customer service. Maybe they'll do something about it. All right, that'll do it for today. Thanks for joining me. If you're not already subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. We'd like to get up to the next plateau. I guess would be 2,000. We just cleared 1,000. That's good. But I think now we need to get up to 2,000. That'd be even better. So subscribe to the channel. Like this video if you have not already. And consider joining the inner circle. I mean, the inner circle is where these people get way more. They get the extra. You want some extra? You join the inner circle. Join by clicking the join button down below this video. Thanks for joining, everybody, and I'll see you.